Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to Papa D's Range Time. I'm Papa D, and we are in my reloading room working on installing a red dot on a Canik TP9 Elite SC. Now, before we dive into this, I want to take and pass some information on to you. I've recently partnered up with USLawShield.com, and this is a self-defense program to give you financial protection in the event that you have to defend yourself in some way. The reason I had another company before, and I've just recently switched over after much investigation to try to find the best use of my money. US Law Shield has no limits on coverage, and the emergency line, you're talking to an attorney, so immediately you have attorney-client privilege, and that cannot, or the legality of it is, I don't think it can be used in the court of law. Anyway, look into uslawshield.com. I have a discount code. The discount code is PAPAD, P-A-P-A-D. I'll have it on the bottom here. But I've found that they have everything that I need for me to financially protect my family. Please look into it and give it a shout. If you have any questions, you can take and get into the comments, and I will take and get back with you through the comments. Anyway, back to the gun. So again, we're working with a TP9 Elite SC, and according to the parts breakdown, we have to remove the optic sight lid, which was this piece here that fits here on this gun. And I tell you what, it was a booger to get this thing off. It has nice long screws. I took them out, and the form, fit, and function of this in this slide is really tight tolerances. You can't knock it to one side because of the locking lugs that are located on the bottom, and you can't get a screwdriver underneath it between the slide and this. And it's just a matter of constantly working back and forth, and I finally got it off. But hats off to Canik on their tight tolerances on how that takes and works in. So anyway, again, we're putting on the SwampFox Sentinel red dot, which is a 1x16 red dot window. So I have put what they call the part number 45 optic interface. Of all things, I'm reading the instructions. Those that really know me know that that's not something I normally do. Anyway, I've got the optic interface already on the slide. So I know that adds some depth to the, that adds some height to the red dot, which may affect my screws, which it did. The SwampFox comes with 3 different screws. The screws that I need is a 4mm by 7, and they sent a 10mm length. That was not long enough. So I went to the hardware store and picked up some longer screws. They're just regular Allen head, 3mm Allen head screws. And I picked up some 12s and some 16s, and the 16s were too long. And what I did is used my depth gauge on my dial caliper to figure out how long or how deep I could go with a screw without any type of interference. And I took a reading on the screws that came with the optic cover, optic lid, to see how much screw stuck out that went into the slide. So I got way too deep into this, trying to take and give me as much thread depth as I can. So being in a mechanical maintenance department, our procedures say that the thread depth has to be at least the diameter of the screw plus 1 thread, and I didn't have that with the 10mm that came with the optic, or the little screw pack that came with the Canik itself. So the Canik gun, here it is, the Canik gun came with some screws, but they were too short, and then the ones that came with the sights were too short. So with all that being said, I go to the hardware store. I get these Allen head screws, 3mm Allen head screws, 12 millimeters long. 14 probably would have been the best length, but they only had a 12 and a 16, and I didn't feel like cutting down the 16 to a 14 and boogering up the threads. But the problem I did have is that the head of the screw did not fit into the well of the sight. So I had to put these on a grinder, and grind the head down so that I could get them to fit in there. So this has been way more complicated than what I expected it to be. I was expecting this to be a 5-minute job, and it just didn't work that way. It's like the red dot that I changed out on my Glock 19 and broke a screw and drilled it out. Another major fiasco. Anyway, I've got the optic adapter. I have the Sentinel waterproof cover that goes on the adapter plate, and the reason why that is necessary is the bottom of the Sentinel is open. The waterproof cover tightens all that up and makes sure that the battery compartment and all of that stays dry. So I did a test fit already on this, and it fits really nice. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm ready to take these 12mm screws and screw them down, a little bit of Loctite, and hopefully get this thing out on the range once the Loctite dries. Do me a bench rest sight in at 15 yards, and then be able to run rounds. So I'm going to very quickly turn away from the camera, go ahead and put Loctite on this and screw this down, so just watch. When tightening this thing down, I'm going to run one down just so where it just barely touches, and then get the other one in place. I don't want to cock or put any extra sideways tension on the red dot and or how it mounts in. Then I will take the Wheeler inch-pound gauge that I have and torque this down to 15 inch-pounds. And that is sitting very nicely on there. I already have this set to 15 inch-pounds, and I'll just go back and forth on these to make sure that they are tight enough. That's good. And that should give me what I'm looking for. And it's going to be way off right now. I'll have a lot of adjusting that I will have to do. Anyway guys, nothing can be easy, but the SwampFox that I ordered from Optic Planet back on the 22nd day of September, and it finally came in 2 days ago. 24 days of shipping. Optic Planet got the part out within 2 days. I elected for free shipping, which was the United States Postal Service, and it spent 9 days in Illinois. After that, it got lost basically for about 3 days. It arrived in Memphis and spent another 9 or 10 days in Memphis. Finally got to Baton Rouge and as a regional depot, and another 3 or 4 days there before it finally got to me. I don't know what's going on with the U.S. Postal Service, but if you're planning on getting something in a timely manner, it'd probably be best to go with UPS or FedEx or something like that, because the post office is not reliable at this point. Anyway, that's a public service announcement. A little bit of frustration on my part of trying to get my part in. Had I known it was going to take 20 plus days, I probably would have opted to pay for shipping in some other way. Anyway guys, the Canik TP9 Elite SC, took the lid cover, optic lid cover off, put the SwampFox Sentinel red dot on. Once this all dries and I make sure everything's steady, I'm going to get out on the range, sight it in, and run some rounds. More to come, but that's it for today. Again, check into US Law Shield with that Papa D code, and I will see you down the road on the next video.